Africa This Week, a new program that features and analyzes all the top news and events that took place across the continent during the week, is coming on Home Digital FM. The 1-hour Week in Review program will exhibit experts and commentators to look back on the news of the past 7 days and break down stories and issues across Africa that everyone is talking about. Africa This Week will feature Guest of the Week and engage people at the center of every key news, every story, in the best interactive, entertaining and informative way possible. Africa This Week on Home Digital FM 99.9 every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. starting from next Saturday, October 22nd. Africa This Week with me, Bojang Jr. See you there.
Digital FM 99.9 in Brikama Town. For all the businessmen and women, move out of the darkness, follow the light. Come sell your business with us today. Home Digital FM, let your customers know what you're offering. Be on top of your competitors. Home Digital FM, we will help you stand out. Come advertise with us today for all your businesses. We offer live program coverage both on Facebook Live and on the radio. Exos to sell your products and services. The media is in control. Tell your customers when, where, and how to meet you through Home Digital FM. Don't worry. Do your business. We will sell you out. Call us today on 734-3125 or 200-5770 620-1413 766-8394. Home Digital FM. Follow the light.
Hundreds of protesters marched through the Ghanaian capital Accra, calling for the resignation of President Akufo-Addo amid economic hardships.
He has failed and we are asking him to resign. High fuel price increment is killing the people of Ghana.
We just want them to step down. It is not a matter of fight, or maybe we just want to be on the streets ranting for nothing. He should just step down so that peace will come.
Human rights groups expressed concern over the arrest and detention of Pape Alé Niang, a prominent Senegalese investigative journalist and editor-in-chief of online platform Dakar Matin.
He had a lot of concern about his security. He came to us to amnesty and raised that concern, but we did not expect that the state will go far to arrest him and detain him. So we are very much concerned.
A Nigerian social media influencer sentenced in the US to more than 11 years in jail over charges related to a multi-million-dollar scam that targeted companies in the US and elsewhere. And an end of an era as French President Emmanuel Macron announced the end of Francis Barkhan's anti-jihadist mission in Africa after over a decade, saying a new strategy will be worked out with African partners. Elsewhere on the continent, a Kenyan court allowed a request by public prosecutors to withdraw a $60 million corruption case against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, citing insufficient evidence. Cameroonian President Paul Biya marked 40 years in power, becoming Africa's second longest-serving president after President Teodoro Obiang of neighboring Equatorial Guinea. And Rwanda accused its neighbor, the DR Congo, of provocation after a Congolese fighter jet entered Rwandan airspace on Monday, but Congo said it was a mistake. In sports, panic and anxiety in Senegal over the fate of injured Sadio Mane with the World Cup in Qatar just a week away.
Very sad news. Very, very sad news. Everybody's worrying about this. And, Sadio Mane is a legend. A World Cup without Sadio Mane is nothing welcome.
We'll also hear from FIFA's Senegalese-born Secretary General Fatma Samoura as she allays any fear anyone might have of Qatar ahead of the World Cup. Also coming up, our special guest, an advisor at the International Investigation and Litigation Program at Trial International, about the case of former Gambian Interior Minister Ousmane Sonko, who has been in detention in Swiss over alleged crimes in the Gambia.
Ousmane Sonko is still being detained in Switzerland. It's been 6 years, and we have good signs that the procedure is coming to an end. We can fairly hope that there will be an indictment in the near future.
These and more on today's program. Stay with us.
Africa This Week, coming to you from Home Digital 99.9 FM in the heart of Brikama.
Sheriff Bojang Jr.
Thanks for joining us. We start with Ghana, where hundreds of protesters marched through the capital Accra on Saturday, calling for the resignation of President Nana Akufo-Addo amid ongoing economic hardships. The president last week sought to reassure Ghanaians that the authorities will get the country's finances back on track after fuel and food costs spiraled to record levels. Saturday's protest was the latest in a series of demonstrations this year over the soaring cost of living. The protesters waved the banners and placards and chanted Akufo-Addo must go. Here are some sound bites of the protest, courtesy of local media outlets.
He has failed and we are asking him to resign. High fuel price increment is killing the people of Ghana.
We are speaking to the IMF. They shouldn't give them loan. They shouldn't give them. Enough is enough. We have gold, we have oil, we have manganese, we have diamond, we have everything in this country. It's the only thing that we need is leadership.
Times are hard in Ghana, extremely hard. We have a cost of living crisis. Prices have doubled, some have tripled. And the price of petrol is also gone through the roof.
And it's important that as part of the democratic demands that the president understands his role and leaves office.
We just want them to step down. It is not a matter of fight or maybe we just want to be on the streets ranting for nothing. He should just step down so that peace will come and let someone else come and do it.
We are here to tell the president that he should step down. Enough of the cronyism, enough of the nepotism, enough of the corruption.
Ghanaian protesters in the streets of Accra. Human rights groups have expressed concern over Senegal's decision to arrest and detain a prominent investigative journalist and editor-in-chief of online platform Dakar Matin. Pape Alé Niang was arrested in Dakar on Sunday after police accused him of breaching professional secrecy and publishing information likely to harm national defense and public security. On November 3rd, Dakar Matin published a video in which Niang reported on the contents of an internal gendarmerie report that purportedly exonerated Ousmane Sonko, an opposition leader and 2024 presidential candidate charged with rape. Authorities have accused Niang of defaming the gendarmerie and divulging military secrets. Niang has since been in detention. On the line from Dakar, Amnesty International's Senegal director Seydi Gassama told me that the journalist has long been a target for the Macky Sall regime.
We are indeed very much concerned with the arrest of Pape Alé Niang. Pape Alé Niang is a prominent investigative journalist in this country. He has been the only one since 2012 to do that work in this country, and he has been investigating and giving to the Senegalese citizen information that they usually don't get from the other medias that are mostly aligned with the government since Macky Sall came to power. So he is the only one who is critical of the government, who in every subject, it can be about corruption, about human rights violations, or even this rape case against Ousmane Sonko, is the only one who has been investigated, getting credible information from different sources. and giving it to the population. So he has been a target of this government for a long time. He had a lot of concern about his security. He came just to amnesty and raised that concern, but we did not expect that the state will go far to arrest him and detain him. So we are very much concerned. It's a very bad message that is sent to the other journalists, especially in the internet media, who also do this kind of investigation. And we are going to stand with his lawyers and other organizations in this country and at the international level to call for his release, immediate release.
And the authorities said they've arrested him because he was spreading, or he spread information that was harmful to public security. Is that genuine? Is that true?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, according to his lawyers who have been assisting him during the interrogation, the information that he's supposed to detain is related to the police deployment in the Dakar city in the wake of, the interrogation of Sonko by the investigating judges. So there was a plan by the Minister of Interior to deploy security forces all around the Dakar city to prevent clashes between protesters and the security forces. This process did not happen because Sonko has called his supporters to stay at home because it was only an interrogation. He will go back home. So there was no protest. But before the day, the different police chiefs in Dakar got that message coded where they say to the units that be prepared because Oscar meaning Usman and Sarah meaning Sonko, will go to the tribunal, and that they expect demonstration in the city. So this confidential information of the police got leaked. It was leaked to the public, and according to the lawyers, Papa Alenia found that information in the internet at the same time that anyone in this country. The second information he was accused is also spreading detailed information about the deployment of the firefighters and eventually be the Red Cross, because they are planning demonstration, they are planning maybe people will be injured and will be killed. So firefighters also have been asked to deploy in the city. These two information was available in the internet, already in the internet, and accessible to any Senegalese citizen. So accusing Pap Alenia of detaining these two information and considering that these two information are state secret information, defense secret information, is simply rubbish. The third information that he was accused of detaining, and they seem to have dropped that charges, is information regarding a gendarmerie report on the investigation on the rape case against Sonko.
Amnesty International's Senegal director Seydi Gassama. Mali's National Human Rights Commission has condemned the restrictions on press freedom after authorities suspended one of the country's main TV channels. Last week, Mali's High Authority of Communication (HAC) suspended the license of Joliba TV News, accusing the popular channel of serious and repeated breaches and violations of the substantive provisions of the Code of Ethics for Journalism in Mali. But in a statement released Tuesday, the Human Rights Commission expressed concern about the exercise of certain civil and political rights, in particular those relating to freedom of expression and freedom of the press. It called on the Malian government to ensure respect for these rights at all times, in all places and in all circumstances. The Commission, which serves in an advisory role to the government, also condemned all restrictions or attempts to restrict freedom of expression and the press. Joliba's Director of Information, Mohamed Attahir Alidou, was summoned to HAC in October over an editorial in which he expressed concern about attacks on freedom of expression and democracy by the ruling military government, and in which he called on the HAC to speak on the issue. The HAC accused Halidou of making defamatory remarks and unfounded accusations concerning freedom of expression in Mali and the transitional authorities. French President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday announced that France was ending its Barkhane anti-jihadist mission in Africa after over a decade, saying a new strategy would be worked out with African partners. Macron laid out his strategic defense priorities for France in Europe and Africa in a keynote speech on military policy to top generals and diplomats aboard a helicopter carrier in Mediterranean naval base in the coastal French city of Toulon. He said the move to end Barkhane was the consequence of what France experienced in recent months, adding that a new strategy would be worked out within the next half year. According to him, France's military support for African countries would continue, but according to new principles. Macron indicated that future strategy would be based on a far closer cooperation with African armies to make France's own deployment lighter and more dynamic. French forces have faced a growing hostility from some who see them as the ineffective occupying force of a former colonial power, and Macron pulled the troops out of Mali this year as relations soured with the country's military rulers. Around 3,000 French soldiers remain in Burkina Faso, Chad, and Niger. Macron said that in the coming days, exchanges would be launched with African nations and regional organizations and allies to change the status, format, and mission of French bases in Africa. The French deployment was launched in 2013 when jihadists took over much of northern Mali before being turned back. A Nigerian social media influencer, popularly known online as Ray Hushpuppi, has been sentenced in the US to more than 11 years in federal prison over charges related to a multi-million-dollar scam that targeted companies in the United States and elsewhere. Hushpuppi, real name Ramon Abbas, was also ordered by a federal judge to pay $1.7 million in restitution to 2 fraud victims, according to a statement from the U.S. Department of Justice. The assistant director in charge of FBI's Los Angeles office described him as one of the most prolific money launderers in the world. Prosecutors said Hushpuppi and a Canadian man laundered money from various online crimes, including bank cyber heists and business email compromise, a prolific crime in which crooks hack into email accounts, pretend to be someone they are not, to deceive victims into wiring money where it does not belong. In 2019, he helped launder $14.7 million stolen by North Korean hackers from a bank in Malta, funneling the money through banks in Romania and Bulgaria, according to federal prosecutors. Hushpuppi, 40, had more than 2 million Instagram followers before he was arrested in 2020 in Dubai. The UN General Assembly on Monday unanimously adopted November 18 as World Day for the Prevention of and Healing from Child Sexual Exploitation, Abuse and Violence. The adoption was thanks to Sierra Leone's First Lady Fatima Mada-Bio, who introduced a draft resolution at the General Assembly for the declaration of the day. The resolution was initiated by Sierra Leone in collaboration with Nigeria. Madam Bio talked to the press in New York after the adoption of the resolution.
The day is not to celebrate, but is to remind the world that something bad like this is happening, and also to give the victim voices so that they know they are not in this on their own. There are a lot of people who are there for them and supporting them, and try to make sure we minimize it. I don't know whether we'll be able to stop rape altogether in the world, but the louder we get, I think it reduces the number of victims that we have. And a day for us to be able to gather, a day that a victim will know that it is not just them, there are other people. A day, it's more of a day of solidarity for one another, where we listen to each other's pain and say, yes, indeed, it did happen to me, and you know you are not in that for, on your own. And it gives a lot of victims a voice. I'm just a face, I'm just here pushing their agenda. I am not a victim of rape, but I am a victim of early marriage. So I understand indirectly for me, I keep saying early marriage is a legalized form of rape. So I believe that the victims, they all have the same story, because when someone violates your body without your consent, that is a crime, and it's taking your human right away from you. So November 18 will be a day that we will gather and we will scream together.
Sierra Leone's First Lady Fatima Madabio speaking to the press at the UN. You are listening to Africa This Week on Home Digital FM with me, Serif Bojang Jr. A reminder of our top stories. Hundreds of protesters marched through the Ghanaian capital Accra, calling for the resignation of President Nana Akufo-Addo over economic hardships. Human rights groups expressed concern over the arrest and detention of prominent Senegalese investigative journalist Pape Alé Niang. And a Nigerian social media influencer sentenced in the US to more than 11 years over charges related to a multi-million-dollar scam that targeted companies in the US and elsewhere. Still ahead in the program, Rwanda accused its neighbor, the DR Congo, of provocation after a Congolese fighter jet entered Rwandan airspace on Monday, but Congo said it was a mistake. We also have sports and our special guest. Stay with us.
Africa This Week, coming to you from Home Digital 99.9 FM in the heart of Brikama.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that humanity was on a highway to climate hell. He was speaking on Monday at the opening of the ongoing COP27 UN Climate Summit in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. The summit coincides with the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Here is a soundbite of the UN chief's speech.
In just days, our planet's population will cross a new threshold. The 8 billionth member of our human family will be born. This milestone puts into perspective what this climate conference is all about. How will we answer when baby 8 billion is old enough to ask, what did you do for our world and for our planet when you had the chance? Excellencies, this UN Climate Conference is a reminder that the answer is in our hands. And the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell, with our foot still on the accelerator.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. A Kenyan court on Thursday allowed a request by public prosecutors to withdraw a 7.4 billion shillings or $60 million corruption case against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, citing insufficient evidence. This is the latest case to be set aside by the courts under new President William Ruto's government, where prosecutors have withdrawn cases against some of his allies on the same grounds, drawing criticism from veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga and rights activists. Gachagua and several of his co-accused were charged with corruption in July last year. He denied any wrongdoing. In another news in the country, Kenya Airways pilots Thursday called off their 5-day strike after a court in Nairobi ordered them to resume work. Members of the Kenya Airline Pilots Association (KALPA), a union that represents about 400 pilots at the carrier, went on strike on Saturday after failing to resolve a dispute over their pensions contributions and settlement of deferred pay. The walkout led to the cancellation of dozens of flights by one of Africa's largest carriers and stranded thousands of passengers. But Employment and Labor Relations Court Tuesday ordered the pilots to resume their duties as by 6 a.m. on Thursday, November 9th, unconditionally. The order came after a letter from the CEO of Kenya Airways earlier showed its plan to cancel its bargaining and recognition agreement with its pilots union, saying their strike was unlawful and it amounted to economic sabotage. Judge Anna Mware gave the orders for the pilots to return to work.
The court, taking all things into consideration, including the pathetic plight of the national airline, the court now makes the following interim orders. 1. The respondent members, and especially the Kenya Airways pilots, to resume their duties as pilots by 6 a.m. on 9th November 2022 unconditionally. 2. The applicants KQ to allow the pilots to perform their duties without harassing them or intimidating them, and especially by not taking any disciplinary action against any of them pending the hearing and determination of these suits.
Judge Anna Mware of Kenya's Employment and Labor Relations Court. Rwanda has accused its neighbor, the Democratic Republic of Congo, of provocation after a Congolese fighter jet entered Rwandan airspace on Monday, although Congo said it was a mistake. The incident came at a time of particular high tensions between the neighbors as Congo accused Rwanda of supporting a rebel group fighting in its east. The Rwandan government in a statement said on Monday morning a Sukhoi 25 fighter jet from Congo violated Rwandan airspace and briefly touched down at Rubavu airport in Rwanda's western province. No military action was taken and the warplane returned to Congo, according to the statement. The Congolese in a statement said the plane was unarmed and accidentally entered Rwandan airspace while on a reconnaissance mission near the border, denying any ill intent. Congo and Rwanda have been at odds since M23 rebels stepped up offensive in eastern Congo this year. Thousands of public workers in South Africa Thursday embarked on a nationwide strike over wages after talks with the government hit a deadlock, threatening to affect essential services. The work stoppage was led by one of South Africa's labor unions, the Public Servants Association, or PSA, which has more than 235,000 members, according to media reports. The wage stalemate between the government and its employees escalated after the labor minister last week declared he would unilaterally implement a 3-point increase across the board. Unions want a 6.5% hike instead. The Ethiopian government and Tigrayan forces have established a telephone hotline following a truce struck 2 weeks ago. This was announced on Monday by the African Union's chief mediator and former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo as both sides met in Kenya for talks on implementing the ceasefire. The Ethiopian government and regional forces from Tigray agreed last week Wednesday to cease hostilities, a diplomatic breakthrough 2 years into a war that has killed thousands and displaced millions. Obasanjo described the truce as a fulfillment of a desire to find African solutions to African problems.
Today is the beginning of a new dawn for Ethiopia, for the Horn of Africa, and indeed for Africa as a whole. Let me hasten to thank God for this new dawn. We have seen in practice and actualization what we have tried to achieve for ourselves over the years, and that is African solution for African problems. We also see in today's peace agreement signing exercise the implementation of Agenda 2063, which embodies silencing the gun in Africa. The two parties in the Ethiopian conflict have formally agreed to the cessation of hostilities, as well as to systematic, orderly, smooth, and coordinated disarmament, restoration of law and order, restoration of services, unhindered access to humanitarian supplies, protection of civilians, especially women, children, and other vulnerable groups, among other areas of agreement. The agreement also takes care of assurance of security for all concerned within and outside Ethiopia.
That was Olusegun Obasanjo, the African Union's chief mediator in the Ethiopia-Tigray conflict and former Nigerian president. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization Wednesday called for a massive influx of food and medicines into Ethiopia's Tigray region following the ceasefire deal, saying desperately needed aid had not yet been allowed in. The WHO said people in Tigray needed urgent assistance after 2 years of bloody conflict, with access to the region severely restricted. Supporters of Cameroonian President Paul Biya Sunday celebrated his 40th anniversary as president. Biya, 89, is Africa's second longest-serving president after President Teodoro Obiang Basogo of neighboring Equatorial Guinea, who has been at the helm of the oil-rich nation since 1979. The Cameroonian leader came to power on November 6, 1982, following the resignation of the country's first post-independence president, Ahmadou Ahidjo. He has been criticized by rights groups and opponents for alleged human rights violations and ruling his country with an iron fist. But thousands of his supporters gathered in the capital Yaoundé and elsewhere in the country to celebrate their leader. Dr. Ashwin Nyanti is a Cameroonian journalist and chief presidential correspondent for state broadcaster Cameroon Radio and Television, CRTV. He joins me on the line from Yaoundé.
This is a head of state who was not given more than 3 months in office when he took office on the 6th of November 1982. Many of his detractors were of the opinion that he was not going to do more than 3 months. But today he has done 40 years and counting. You will expect that under such circumstances, there will be some celebration to do. There will be some happiness amongst such people having gone through thick and thin, having defied all the odds, the challenges, scaled the hurdles that have presented themselves before him throughout these years. Just for that reason, that tenacity, that staying power, everybody will celebrate under those circumstances. And I think they did the celebrations. And in Cameroon, it's not in the streets that they celebrate. All the members of the political party that the head of state belongs to, they celebrated in their various sections throughout the national territory. And even their allies, there were celebrations all over the national territory.
Dr. Nyanti, President Biya is 89 years and he has been ruling for the past 40 years, making him the second longest serving president in Africa. Does his party openly discuss the idea of succession?
Well, I do not belong to that political party. I'm a journalist, so I wouldn't know what they are discussing internally. But the question of succession in Cameroon is a public issue. It is discussed every day on national television, on the television stations in the country, on the radio stations. Every day, panelists discuss these issues and so on. People have their varied opinions, and nobody stops them.
Well, contrary to what you are saying, other people on the ground say the issue of succession has been a taboo subject within the president's party.
These discussions are not a taboo in Cameroon. Unfortunately, many people have that impression. But these are things that are discussed openly every day on Sunday morning, the debates on television, on radio. So to me, as far as I'm concerned, it is not a taboo.
Okay, how about assumptions that the president might be preparing his son Frank Biya as possible successor? Does that hold any water as far as you are concerned?
For some strange reasons, there has been this wild guess recently on a monarchical succession at the helm of the state of Cameroon. I guess that's why you bring in the president's son. But as far as I'm concerned, I do not know the status of that rumor, and I do not know where it is coming from. But let me address the issue. First of all, the president's son is a Cameroonian, and the Constitution of Cameroon allows every citizen who is of the required age to have political ambitions. Nobody stops anybody in Cameroon from having political ambitions. The president's son cannot be an exception. But the question is, what is the president's position? And this is what he thinks. His view is that Cameroon is a republic and not a monarchy.
Dr. Asunyenti, a Cameroonian journalist and presidential correspondent for state broadcaster Cameroon Radio and Television, CRTV. Uganda on Monday successfully launched its first ever satellite into the international space following its construction by 3 Ugandan and Japanese engineers under a multinational satellite design program. The country's cube-type satellite, Pearl Africasat-1, will subsequently be deployed into the low Earth orbit in December this year, according to officials. The Ministry of Science and Technology said the Pearl Africasat-1 was designed to provide research and observation data that would provide solutions in weather forecasts, land, water bodies, mineral mapping, and agriculture monitoring. Other reasons include disaster prevention, infrastructure planning, and border security. The satellite will be operated from Uganda, and all its data will be analyzed and used in Uganda through a ground station. Monica Musenero is the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation.
Uganda's satellite is on board and the launch was successful. What next? To get to work. Get to work. We need to make sure the Earth station is ready. We have made a lot of progress. The installation of the equipment which we got and preparing such that by the time it is actually deployed in the orbit and starts sending information, our station here is ready. And that satellite is done with its lifespan. We are going to have other satellites. We are planning about 18 months to launch a bigger satellite.
Uganda's Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Monica Musenero. The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, Wednesday addressed the UN Security Council about what he said were gross rights violations in Libya. Khan was addressing the Security Council via video link from Libyan soil for the first time ever. He acknowledged that while challenges abounded, justice for the Libyan people was not mission impossible. He told the council some of the atrocities he saw in Libya.
I went a couple of hours drive from Tripoli to a place called Tahuna, and there saw a miserable sight. Boxes, metal boxes, almost like a workstation. And in these boxes, we have accounts of people that were forced to enter backwards and were kept in absolutely appalling conditions. Conditions that by any metric amounted to calculated inhumanity. And from there I took the same road where some of these poor souls were executed to farms that became mass graves and to refuge tips, landfill sites in which bodies were thrown without ceremony. And I think it's only right to applaud the really courageous work of the Libyan forensic experts, because amongst that detritus, with that plastic, with every waste product known to mankind, along with dead dogs and dead goats that we saw, they had an extremely difficult technical task of clearing away mounds of rubbish to find these individuals that had been thrown in. As a result, it seems, of crimes within the court's jurisdiction, and 250 bodies have so far been recovered, and far fewer have been identified.
The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan. UN human rights experts on Tuesday presented a damning report to the General Assembly outlining how discrimination affected black boys and girls worldwide to the extent that they were not considered children even in the eyes of the law. The report by the Working Group on People of African Descent highlighted discrimination in areas that include the administration of justice, law enforcement, education, and health. The report found that throughout the diaspora, children of African descent face heavier policing, including more arrests, police surveillance, racial profiling, strip searches, and excessive use of force. The study also detailed how false racial stereotypes of criminality, culpability, and dangerousness influence decision-making, including by police officers, prosecutors, lawyers, and judges globally. The experts called for the UN and other stakeholders to stop using images of African children and children of African descent in undignified circumstances for marketing and fundraising purposes. Now time for sports, and with the much anticipated World Cup in Qatar just a week away, let's take a moment to feel the FIFA World Cup 2022 official soundtrack.
Let's go. Hoy mi gente viene aquí a celebrar. Todos nos vamos a quedar hasta el final.
The World Cup kicks off in Qatar on Sunday, November 20th. Over the past couple of weeks, Qatar as a nation has been taking a lot of heat from especially Western countries and some football stakeholders for issues outside of football. For instance, they complain about Qatar being a conservative country with strong laws and traditions which are in contrast to the Western ways of life. Well, FIFA Secretary General Fatma Samoura has given assurances that fans in Qatar during the World Cup have nothing to fear, comparing the World Cup host with our own home country, Senegal.
This World Cup is a World Cup of many firsts. First time it's happening in the Middle East, in the Arab world. First time where all the teams will be in one city, with their fans around the world being able to come, meet, mingle, sing, dance, and provide positive vibes to the world. People can consider Qatar as a conservative society, like my own country in Senegal. But let me tell you one thing. Qataris are the most hospitable people you can find on earth. The food is great. The tea is beautiful. And when you will be walking along this beautiful Corniche, you will see something that you have never seen before. You will see magic, you will see light, you will see flavor, you will see smiles. You will see the 32 teams, fans, with their jersey, enjoying the celebration of their teams. You will see people who will become your long-term friends after the World Cup, but you will especially enjoy one thing: the love of football and its unique power to unite people around the world.
FIFA's Senegalese-born Secretary General Fatma Samoura. Well, sticking to football, the countdown to the World Cup in Qatar is already bringing a lot of joy and excitement to football fans across the world, especially those whose national teams are part of the competition. But one set of fans who is anxious and even panicking is that of the Teranga Lions of Senegal. Star player Sadio Mane injured his ankle Thursday night while playing for his German club Bayern Munich in a match against Werder Bremen. At the time of recording this, so he was a major doubt for the tournament. For his club and country, it's a wait-and-see situation while doctors conduct examinations on him. Until then, Mane's chances of leading his country in Qatar are as good as his chances of missing out. On the line from Dakar, Samsidine Jatta, an executive member of the Senegalese Football Federation, spoke to me about the issue of Mane. I must say though that Jatta spoke to me in his capacity as a Senegalese national and a football fan who is personally acquainted with Sadio Mane.
As all fans, football fans was watching the game Bayern Dominic Leverkusen, and we saw that Sadio Mane got injured after 21 minutes of the game. So everybody were worrying here in Senegal. All the people were worrying and thinking about the World Cup coming in within a short time. So till now, no one can tell you, can't give an information, a clear information, because we don't get proper information from the club, his club, Bayern Munich. We are waiting until we get further information from Bayern Munich. Everybody is worrying about the issue, and because everywhere in the network, people are speaking about Sadio will be out of this World Cup, and you know the impact Sadio has in this national team. So if Sadio is out of the World Cup, it will be a terrible news.
The report by French publication L'Equipe that it's confirmed and official that Sadio Mane will not go to the World Cup. As far as you are concerned, and at the moment, that is not true.
Information of L'Equipe, I think they don't have any objective information, any objective idea to give this kind of information. The only information we can believe is only when Bayern Munich sent to our FA, because I know they are in connection with our medical staff to see exactly if Sadio Mane will be out, or if Sadio Mane will be out only for the game, because we can see in the Twitter of Bayern Munich that Sadio Mane will be out for this next league game against Schalke. But so we are confident here. I myself am confident because I know Sadio Mane very well. And I know if ever after 21 minutes he feels that he is not going well, he will take the responsibility to get out of, so that not to get really injured. So we are waiting to confirm the confirmation of this and know exactly what's going on. But my concern is I am optimistic, and I know it may be for one game or at least 2 games, but Sadio Mane will be ready for World Cup.
And what's the mood in Senegal, in Dakar, where you are, since the news broke out that he's injured and there might be a problem as far as the World Cup is concerned?
It is bombastic, let me tell you. I myself, you know, I am an executive member, so I receive a lot of calls, I receive a lot of messages from people, from fans, asking me what's going on, is it real or not? So if you receive so many messages like this, it's because people are worrying about the situation. And all the fans are worrying about the situation. It may be something really very sad news, very, very sad news. Everybody's worrying about this. And, you know, Sadio Mane is a legend. A World Cup without Sadio Mane is a nothing World Cup. So Sadio must be there. That's why all the population, all those people who are watching football, I'm not talking about Senegal only. I'm talking about African in general. All African are worrying because so many people from Africa who knows me, they are calling me and asking me about the situation. I cannot give an information, a clear information, but I know people are worrying, even those who are not Senegalese. So all African people are worrying about this situation.
Mr. Jatta, do you think this will likely, the fact that it's not yet clear if he is going to go to the World Cup, if he is not going to go to the World Cup, will that likely, all this issue likely affect the preparation of the team, especially the psyche and mentality of the players, the Senegalese squad players?
I think the players are in a certain level of professionalism. So they are so professional. They are top players, and they know all situations. And at any time, you know, in a national team, there is Plan A and Plan B. But Sadio Mane is Sadio Mane. It's not. He's a key player of this team. So if Sadio Mane will be out of this World Cup, I think it can be a motivation for all the players. They play for Sadio Mane. They play for all the team. Is a team, so the coach will work on it and will prepare for all this psychologically for players to be fit and for them to be conscious of aware of the situation and to play for all the Senegalese to work hard, to play for Sadio, to play for all those people who maybe think that if Sadio is not here, nothing can work.
And Senegal is in a group that also has the host Qatar and the Netherlands. What are your expectations for Senegal, at least in the group stage, with or without Sadio?
With Sadio, without Sadio, Senegal is going to play the top 4 of the World Cup. We are not going as tourists, you know. So it's no longer now saying that we are outsider, because we have top players like Holland. They have top players, Qatar as well, and even that team from South America is a very strong team and good team. But Senegal as well is a very, very good team because we have top players. We are playing in top clubs in Europe. So no way to take ourselves like outsider. We are among those teams that maybe aim to be in the top 4 of the World Cup. There's no way saying that Senegal is going as a tourist. You know, we're going to go into the final.
Mr. Jata, thank you very much.
You're welcome, my friend.
Samsidine Jata, a Senegalese football fan, speaking to me from Dakar. From Senegal, we go to Cameroon, where Indomitable Lions coach Rigobert Song unveiled his list of 26 players for the World Cup. The squad features stars like brilliant goal scorer Abubakar Vincent and Jean-Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, as well as Napoli's Zambo Anguissa. The president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, has set very ambitious goals for his national team. Now time for our special guest segment. Some Gambians might have forgotten about him because he's been in detention in Switzerland for many years now. But Ousmane Sonko, a former interior minister under President Yahya Jammeh, was once a powerful and influential figure in the country. That was before he fell out with Jammeh. He headed to Sweden and to Swiss, where he landed in trouble. Sonko's arrest, investigation and detention by the Swiss authorities came after a complaint was lodged against him by Trial International, an NGO that fights impunity for international crimes and support victims in their quest for justice. Sonko is suspected of taking part in the acts of torture, including in detention centers during his time as minister. To discuss about Sonko's case, this week's special guest is Benoit Mestre, a legal advisor for the International Investigation and Litigation Program at Trial International. He joins me from Geneva.
The investigation has been now ongoing for almost 6 years against Ousmane Sonko, which is quite particularly long when you think that he's being detained. So that's quite a long procedure in Switzerland. And during these years, the prosecuting authorities in Switzerland have been very active. They heard, of course, the suspect, Ousmane Sonko himself, several times. They also heard dozens of witnesses who participated in the case, and of course some individual plaintiffs. We have now 10 persons who filed individual criminal complaints against him for various offenses committed mostly between 2006 and 2016. Also, I wanted to recall that the prosecuting authorities, they traveled to the Gambia to investigate on site, and that there was a good cooperation between Switzerland and the Gambia with regards to exchange of information. And today, Ousmane Sonko is still being detained in Switzerland. It's been 6 years, and we have good signs that the procedure is coming to an end. We can fairly hope that there will be an indictment in the near future. We know that the prosecutor, as I've said, is looking at offenses committed from early 2000s to 2016, and that clearly these offenses, to our reading and to the prosecutor reading, enters into the main offense that we can call crimes against humanity. So that's basically where it stands now.
So he is still in detention?
He's absolutely still in detention in Switzerland.
As you said, it has been 6 years already. Why do you think it's taken this long?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, these kind of procedure, they are very complex. They are very difficult because they are about crimes that were committed abroad, like outside of Switzerland, in a foreign country. So there's kind of several formalities that makes the procedure very long. Like the Swiss authorities need to enter in contact with the Gambian authorities, and there's a whole process to obtain legal assistance between both countries. And it also takes a lot of time because the victims are not on site. Often the witnesses are not on site. So that's understandable that it's been so long.
And can you remind our listeners the crimes that Ousmane Sonko has been pursued for or accused of?
Yes, so as I said before, we have 10 victims who filed criminal complaints for facts that took place between early 2000 and 2016. The main part of the procedure is about what happened in 2006. So in 2006, there were some people accused of fomenting a coup d'etat. So various security forces were involved in torture of these persons. And also in 2016, when there was a peaceful demonstration again by political opponents who were arrested and brutally violented, they were brought to either prison or to the NIA. And we believe that Ousmane Sonko has a big responsibility in these acts.
And Ousmane Sonko's case was sent or presented to the Swiss authorities by your organization, Trial International. What actually triggered your attention to Ousmane Sonko?
That's a good question. Trial International's mandate is to fight against impunity of perpetrators of international crimes. So we do that using a legal principle that can be applied in Switzerland and in many other countries that's called universal jurisdiction. This legal principle allows the prosecution of alleged perpetrators of international crimes to be prosecuted in a country where they did not commit the crime. I mean, Ousmane Sonko is being prosecuted in Switzerland for crimes committed in the Gambia with Gambian victims. But the universal jurisdiction principle allows such prosecution. And when it comes to Ousmane Sonko himself, our organization was informed back in January 2017, if I remember well, that he was on the Swiss territory and that he had applied for asylum. And that's basically how everything started. From the moment when the person is on the Swiss territory, Swiss authorities have jurisdiction to prosecute them, and that's why our organization filed a criminal complaint against him.
Like Ousmane Sonko, there are so many Gambians outside the Gambia who have been accused of gross human rights violations during the former regime of Yahya Jammeh, and this issue of extradition have been, discussed in the Gambia among people. My understanding is that Swiss does not extradite people to countries where there is death penalty. Can you confirm this, that Swiss might not extradite Ousmane Sonko to the Gambia if the Gambia requests, because of the fact that there is the death penalty law in the Gambia?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any request from the Gambia to extradite Ousmane Sonko. And anyway, given what you said, given that death penalty law is still on in the Gambia, Switzerland might not grant this request if ever it comes.
And do we know his condition as he is being detained at the moment?
We don't have any information on his detention. We can say he's amongst the usual detainees. He does not benefit any priorities or anything like that. He's amongst regular detainees in Switzerland, pre-trial detainees in Switzerland.
And then finally, Benoit, as you said earlier, you are hopeful that there will be progress finally in this case. I guess that will mean Ousmane Sonko will eventually be charged and will be prosecuted. If that happens, what will that mean for Gambia's transitional justice and the fight against crimes like the ones that he's been accused of committing?
That's a very good and important question. It is clear that a lot has already been done in the Gambia to shed light on the atrocities that were committed in the country under Yahya Jammeh. We all know about the TRRC work that has to be felicitated, I think. And also, I wanted to highlight the enormous work done by the civil society, by activists and victim organizations to have Yahya Jammeh and his accomplices brought before justice. This is really important. We also know that the process is ongoing, that there has been already some trials in the Gambia, and we hope that there will be more, because more should be done from the Gambian government and judicial power to prosecute the perpetrators of the regime. So we believe that Ousmane Sonko's prosecution and hopefully soon to come trial is very important as well for all the Gambian victims and for this transitional justice process, because it will hopefully help to shed light on all the atrocities that were committed by the regime. So in this sense, we believe that Ousmane Sonko case, Michael Correa case, Bailo case in Germany will contribute to bring other perpetrators to justice as well.
Benoit, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That was Benoit Mest, our special guest and legal advisor for the International Investigation and Litigation Program at Trial International in Geneva. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of your Week in Review program, Africa This Week, on Home Digital 99.9 FM. I'm your producer and presenter, Sheriff Bojang Jr. Thanks for your company, and join me the same time next week for another edition of the program. Bye for now. Africa This Week, a new program that features and analyzes all the top news and events that took place across the continent during the week, is coming on Home Digital FM. The 1 hour Week in Review program will exhibit experts and commentators to look back on the news of the past 7 days and break down stories and issues across Africa that everyone is talking about. Africa This Week will feature Guest of the Week and engage people at the center of every key news, every story, in the best interactive, entertaining and informative way possible. Africa This Week on Home Digital FM 99.9 every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. starting from next Saturday, October 22nd. Africa This Week with me, Sheriff Bojang Jr. See you there.
FM 99.9 in Brikama Town. For all the businessmen and women, move out of the darkness, follow the light. Come sell your business with us today. Home Digital FM, let your customers know what you're offering. Be on top of your competitors. Home Digital FM, we will help you stand out. Come advertise with us today for all your businesses. We offer live program coverage both on Facebook Live and on the radio. source to sell your products and services. The media is in control. Tell your customers when, where, and how to meet you through Home Digital FM. Don't worry. Do your business. We will sell you out. Call us today on 734-3125 or 200-5770, 620-1413, 766-8394. Home Digital FM. Follow the light.